1985. Bernard Hinault is furious. He wants to win his 5th tour and place himself on the clouds of a golden podium where the sun shines like champagne, spewing glory on the greats like Jacques Anquetil and Eddie Merckx. Formidable company to be in. Bernard Tapie, in his extravagant ways, signed Le Mans to $1 million contract, an unheard of number for someone who wasn't even a team leader. This tour, however, would write the ultimate drama. Something that would put days of our lives to shame. Laurent Fignon would miss the 85 tour. The cause? Tendinitis. The same reason he was able to lead Renault Elf in 1983. This left the perfect opportunity for Hinault to win his 5th tour, especially since his main competition was now his domestique. This change, though, for Le Mans wasn't just a money grab. Le Mans liked the sport director, Coetzee, more than he liked Guimard. He also found that Fignon wanted to be in complete control of the team. Le Mans gave Renault a chance to give him a raise, but they wouldn't, instead telling him he needed them. Most infuriating thing for an employee to hear. A large paycheck and a better boss sounds like a pretty good reason to anybody to change a job. This newly weaponized La Viclaire team tore through the new season. Then there was the 1985 Giro d'Italia. It was time for the Italian tour to step out from its reputation. And if Moser wanted to repeat his win, he had to beat Hinault. And he had Le Mans to contend with this time. He did it. He won the prologue. The 1-hour record holder is always going to be the pinnacle of time trialing. The La Viclaire team wouldn't be the dominant force like the old Renault team, taking 6th in the team time trial. The first climbing stage began to show the talent, however. The peloton together at the bottom of the climb but intensified. The Spanish rider La Jarreta attacked. The Badger went with him. The lead group formed and Hinault took 2nd. Le Mans 6th. Just a minute 20 behind. Over the next few stages, Hinault ordered his team to push the pace and break down the strength of the peloton. Stage 12 was the first individual time trial. Hinault would win the time trial, beating Moser by 53 seconds. And Le Mans by 58. This put the Badger in pink, right where he wanted to be. The race went through different attacks and stage winners, letting others have the chance at glory. Laviclaire on the defensive, and even organizing the peloton and Tour favorites to help defend his jersey. Stage 19 would see the Giro back to its old tricks. The steep alpine pass of Gran San Bernardo would be cut short 6 miles from the top. Another gift wrapped in shiny paper with a bow slipped to the stocky built Moser. Moser power climbed and won a bunch of sprints at the top, taking an easy 20-second bonus. Hinault wanted to show the peloton his fury at the late course change the day before and unleash Le Monde at the peloton. Stage 20 was a short 36-mile course. Hilly, Le Monde set the pace at the front. Most of the course was a gradual climb, and Le Monde was able to string out the peloton until it broke. The pace was meant to do one thing: wear Moser out before the time trial. The final stage, final time trial. Moser needed to beat Hinault by a minute 16. He only did it by 7 seconds. Le Monde in fourth. His attack worked. This put Hinault on the podium ahead of Moser. And Le Monde on the third step of the podium. 2 Grand Tours in a row. After the Giro, Le Monde would be in top form for the Tour de France. A blessing or a curse for Hinault, who would have either the strongest domestique in the world or a fierce rival, racing on the same team, like a playback of Fignon. Hinault went hard on the prologue in an attempt to show the public that he was in charge. Le Monde finished 21 seconds behind after having some bike troubles. The third stage team time trial confirmed the hype. Laviclaire won it by exactly 1 minute. This put 8 of the top 10 leaders of the Tour on Laviclaire. Stage 6 would be a sprinter's day from Roubaix to Reims. Le Monde found himself in the position to compete for the sprint, whether he planned it to show he could, or was just out of circumstance. He would be sprinting against the best of the time, Sean Kelly and Eric Vandergarten. Stage 6 sprint was particularly rough. Vandergarten wanted to retake the yellow jersey. He held through stages 1 through 3, and having a time bonus would do it. He elbowed his way through the peloton until he got to the veteran Sean Kelly, who pushed back, nearly putting Vandergarten into the barriers. Vandergarten would force his way around Kelly and win the sprint. After the finish, Kelly and Vandergarten exchanged heated words from the finish to the podium. The referees penalized both racers, and Le Monde, who took fourth in the sprint, would be moved to second with a hefty 20-second time bonus. The bonus moved Le Monde into third, 2 seconds ahead of Hinault.
Potential to win this race this year or even next year, but I really feel great right now. I mean, I really feel good. And so we'll just have to wait and see who's the strongest.
46-mile time trial would be the GC sorting stage. Hinault put the hammer down. Another show of force and domination from a much more strategic Hinault than in the past. Hinault crushed the time trial. Nobody was within 2 minutes of the Badger, and the GC standing showed that order was back in place. Hinault in yellow, Le Mans right behind him. It'd be a few flat days until the race reached the Alps. Hinault would revert to his ways. Attack. Hinault broke away with the Colombian climber, trading climber's points and the glory of stage win, while Herrera helped Hinault get a bigger lead on his rival and his teammate, Greg LeMond. LeMond couldn't attack Hinault. The reason he went to the front in the first place, he could let the peloton naturally fall apart and stick with the other strong climbers. LeMond would have to start working strategically to get to the front. He would get to the front of the peloton and push the pace to naturally let the peloton stretch out and fall apart. This would leave him stuck with some of the other strong climbers. Hinault now had a strong 4-minute lead on Le Mans. But the Alps had also taken their toll on the aggressive tactics of the Badger. The individual time trial after the Alps showed Hinault in second to Vandergarten, a minute back. Hinault wasn't broken, but his domination had been curbsided. Le Mans had mechanical troubles, his plague in the 85 Tour, and he would be 5 minutes back in the GC after the time trial. The drama began to unfold. Hinault knew that Le Mans wouldn't attack him, so it was important to have him in second place. On stage 14, the first in the Pyrenees, Herrera would attack to hold his polka dot jersey. Le Mans, knowing he couldn't attack, followed a chase group. Hinault, wanting the protection of having his second, being in second in the GC, let him go. Kept his eyes on him. Hinault stayed with Stephen Roach and Sean Kelly, third and fourth in the GC. The move worked. He only lost a minute to Le Mans, but Le Mans' lead on his rivals would go up to 7 minutes. There was a situation in the last kilometer, though. During the sprint in the peloton, the leaders touched wheels and went down. Hinault smashed his face into the tarmac. He crossed the line, blood dripping from his chin, his nose destroyed. The cameras would shoot a scene of the grit Badger was made of. Now the rules of the tour are that if you crash within the last kilometer of the race, the rider gets the same time as the group of riders he was racing in. Hinault still led by 3.5 minutes, even though he laid at the side of the road getting checked by the doctors. The race went uneventfully south to the Pyrenees. But the harsh reality of team politics would rear its head and strike. On stage 17, 130-mile race from Toulouse to the mountaintop finish, Lou's already been. With the Tour Classic, one of the best climbs to watch on the way, the Tourmalet. It was the Tourmalet when Hinault's trouble began. Bronchitis and breathing through his broken nose began to take its toll on the tough climb. He fell back from the group of climbers. He would, in his unusual fashion, make an assault run downhill and catch the group. This wouldn't matter. Pedro Delgado was on a tear at the front. Chasing him 6 minutes behind was Stephen Roach, third place in the GC, and Greg LeMond on his wheel, protecting his place in the Tour. They started to climb up Luz Ardiden. Roach attacked, wanting the stage win. The gap grew, and Roach wanted to get Delgado. A news crew told LeMond of the growing gap between him and Hinault. LeMond knew he was strong and could bridge the gap to Delgado. As Roach began to crack, LeMond's team car pulled up beside him. LeMond asked for permission to go get Delgado and take the stage. Team director Queckley told him not to attack, to stay with Roche, in fear of LeMond getting the yellow. Not the deal he had signed with La Viclaire. The deal was whoever was stronger would lead the team. Playing politics, LeMond pressed for the exact time gap so he could win and let Hinault retain his lead. Aguillot, the assistant director of La Viclaire, who was relaying Queckley's orders, was a former domestique of Hinault and was extremely loyal to him. The two argued, and it was heated, but LeMond wouldn't go without orders. More than most racers would have done. In today's racing, it would be the image of a contorted face attacking the climb with a little earpiece connecting them to the team manager, dangling lifeless on their shoulder. Still, LeMond waited as Herrera rode past. Then Kelly. The whole group Hinault fought to get back to. Hinault was minutes back. Still, LeMond was frustrated. Not only was he stuck waiting for Hinault, who he was told was closer, but LeMond was sitting with Roche, who now left him and was far up the road. When LeMond was finally released, he stormed up the climb and found himself finishing with a large group of favorites, only a minute ahead of Hinault. That single day is a story in its own. But the short and true is La Viclaire, the brand, had a huge publicity opportunity by having the French hero Bernard Hinault win his 5th Tour. And an American winning would not have the same effect. So he was told to protect Hinault's lead. There are lots of riders who defend Hinault, including LeMond, who say that it wasn't his fault. What rider on the Tour would have their teammate attack them? None.
I have nothing against Hinault. I wanted him to win the Tour. I felt that he was in my place at the last call. Do you want me to punch you in the face? No. Get out of here.
Hinault never mentioned it. He just rode his race. The next day was a more somber race, less exciting now. Now the world knew. LeMond would have to sit back and support Hinault. Roche knew this too, and attacked the stage, and won, but only a minute ahead of the other strongmen in the Tour. The final time trial, a few days later, would be won by LeMond by 5 seconds, but it confirmed that LeMond was ready to be the winner of the Grand Tours, and no longer in a supporting role. The 1986 season was filled with anticipation. Fignon was racing again, and LeMond was promised freedom from the chains that held him back in '85. For both racers, the early season was full of races was meant to build up form for the ultimate prize, the Tour de France. LeMond off to a fit start with a 3rd in Paris-Nice and a 2nd in Milan-San Remo, crushing Fignon, who placed 32nd. Fignon didn't fare as well as LeMond, but did win La Flèche Wallonne, beating Le Mans, Hinault, and Sean Kelly. Fignon and Le Mans diverged in their seasons even more, as Fignon raced the Vuelta de España, and the La Viclair team would race the Giro d'Italia. Fignon, on the newly rebranded System U team, went into the Vuelta strong. Fignon looked as if he was going to be ready to fight at the Tour de France. A 5th place in the prologue and consistent top 10 finishes would see Fignon 7th at the end of the Vuelta. Le Mans started the Giro, and the race quickly became a fanboy club of great Italian cyclists. That and aggressive crashes because of a rivalry between Cerrone and Moser. Le Mans went on to win where men are equal in their suffering, on the hill climb. On stage 12, an individual time trial shifted the GC, because up to that point, the race had been heavily favoring climbers. After that, Le Mans would keep to himself up front on the climbs, even taking second on the big mountain stage at Vapolo. He would hold his position 4th in the GC behind the favorites Cerrone and Moser, and the eventual winner, Roberto Vicentini. It was a typical Giro. Italian racers ganging up on foreign racers, complaining about courses that wouldn't suit them, and just a general sense of the Sopranos on pedals. After the Vuelta a España, Fignon went to Criterium Dauphiné and showed promise in some stages, but started to show weakness as a multi-stage racer. The Grand Prix du Midi Libre, Fignon's final race before the Tour, was tragic with a 43rd place finish. On the other side of the Giro d'Italia, Le Mans went to the Tour de Suisse. After his Grand Tour performance, he took 3rd in the GC behind the climber Robert Miller, his friend, teammate, winner, fellow American, Andy Hampsten. It was clear that Le Mans was getting stronger, and just a few weeks before the Tour de France, Hinault was already starting his war against Le Mans by saying Hampsten is the true heir of La Viclair. The 86 Tour de France had come. The anticipation was high. Hinault had promised to help Le Mans win his first Tour, but had been saving his legs and preparing the entire year for the Tour, and immortality awaiting him if Le Mans slipped up, even in the slightest way. Fignon was back, not in top form, but for public appearances, the former hero of Paris was on a bike against his former teammates. And there was the first American team in the race. The 7-Eleven team was strong and a media spectacle. With Americans doing so well on European teams, what was 7-Eleven going to do? The race started as the world anticipated. Hinault in 3rd, 2 seconds behind the System U rider Thierry Marie. With Fignon and Le Mans 7th and 8th place, only 2 seconds behind Hinault. Marie would lose the yellow in the first stage, but would gain it back with Fignon and System U winning the second stage team time trial. Over the next few flat stages across northeastern France, the yellow jersey would change hands 3 times. The top contenders, the favorites, the racers that people would come to see, protecting themselves in the peloton, letting the breakaway heroes and sprinters have their day. Going into stage 9, Fignon was the only one of our cycling heroes that was in the top 10, sitting 5th, 45 seconds behind yellow. This stage was a time trial. The artillery was going to fire, and the leaders of La Viclair were going to show their force. Le Mans was the first of the 3 to hit the course. During the race, he flatted. His time was ruined. The Badger came through next, winning the stage putting 44 seconds on Le Mans. 44 seconds that wouldn't be lost, but mechanicals are part of the pain and suffering of the race. Roach pounded out the top three, keeping the others humble in the knowledge that there are other racers in GC contention. Fignon crossed the line 32nd, almost 4 minutes behind Hinault. This destroyed Fignon's chance of winning the Tour. He knew it too, and when you're a favorite in a position like that, every day becomes a blend of psychological torture. Trying to tell yourself to push a body that you know isn't in the same fitness as all the other racers you're being compared to. Stage 12, the first day in those limestone spires, Hinault's brain was wrought with strategies on how to outmaneuver Le Mans without making it look bad, like he was going against his word to help Le Mans with his tour. How to win away on the first climb. Obvious, a favorite and a strong climber like him couldn't be let off the leash, so Hinault followed. They blew apart the race. Over the top, Le Mans and Hamston joined Hinault and the lead group. A group of racers broke away from the lead group before the final ascent, up the Col de Marie-Leblanc. Hinault, always has a man to attack, went after them with a teammate, Jean-Francois Bernard. When the two caught the leaders, they continued their attack. Le Mans was struck with not being able to respond because he would attack his own teammates. Pedro Delgado saw this and went after them. The strong climber as dangerous to Le Mans' GC win as Hinault, but all he could do was watch. With luck, Miller also wanted to win the Tour and set a blistering pace at the head of Le Mans' group. The group lasted away from Roche and Fignon, who fell back by 10 minutes. Even with Miller's efforts, however, the Badger was still up front. Stuck after the descent, Le Mans attacked on the road to Pau. Only Herrera had the legs to follow. In typical form, Hinault let Delgado take the stage win because his scheme had worked. He pulled on the yellow jersey with a 5-minute lead over Le Mans. The pace of the stage led to 17 racers quitting, and the next morning, before stage 13, Fignon abandoned the Tour. Stage 13 would hold 4 major climbs, including the Aspen and the Tourmalet, with a mountaintop finish. Hinault starts the aggression with an attack on the descent of the Tourmalet, gapping the other riders by 3 minutes. With his head start on the next climb, Hinault would still lead at the summit, but Robert Miller put in an effort to break the field. Over the top, they had brought Hinault's lead to 25 seconds. And now, the chasers were down to the GC contenders and the climbing specialists. Once again, Hinault attacked on the downhill, this time surrounded by motorcycles protecting him and helping him draft. Then, out of nowhere, appears Miller and his chase group. They weave through the motorcycles and blow past Hinault. On the final climb to the ski resort of Superbannière, Hinault attacked near the bottom. Tired and struggling, it didn't matter. He was the Badger, and he would attack. A trait that seems to have been lost in the past. The attack would show the chaos Laviclaire was in now. 3 of the 6 racers at the front were on the same team. The top 4 were all in the pack as well. The group rode back together with Miller at the helm. When the group seemed calm and complacent, it was Hamston who attacked. The strong climbers lifted their pace and pulled Lamont with them. Then, as they started to weaken, Lamont bridged up to Hamston. Lamont held Hamston's wheel until Hamston began to crack. Hamston yelled at Lamont, "Go!" And Lamont went. Crossed the line, winning the stage, but the clock counted down with a heart-wrenching boom every second that passed by. Strong men coming across, until finally Hinault came by, holding on to his yellow jersey by just 40 seconds. And with that, the Alps were going to get interesting. Stage 17 would be the start of the Alps, and was going to throw the racers right back where they left off. The race had been shredded into various groups from the start. The leg killer, Col d'Azard, would be where RGC contenders restarted their war. Zimmerman gave Le Mans the opportunity to attack. Le Mans latched on as Zimmerman was in 3rd place. Le Mans couldn't attack Zimmerman, not with his teammate in yellow, only a minute and a half behind. As Zimmerman attacked at the final climb, the Col de Granon, setting a ferocious pace. Realizing that this was a sly attack on his jersey, Hinault pounced. But Zimmerman was a Swiss national champ and was at home in the Alps. Le Mans just hung on for the ride and got pulled straight into the yellow jersey. Stage 18 was the quintessential Alpine race. The monstrous Galibier, Telegraph, Croix de Fer, the finish, the legendary Alpe d'Huez. While Le Mans had been stealthy about his attack on Hinault, Badger, well, that wasn't his style. Over the top of the Galibier, Hinault attacked. Not having any of his nonsense, Le Mans responded and caught him for the bottom of the descent. Hinault attacked again on the Telegraph. Le Mans again was done with Hinault's games, although Hinault showed Zimmerman's weakness as he started to fall behind. On the Croix de Fer, it would be a showdown. Le Mans and Hinault were alone, climbing. The Laviclaire duo went over the top together, their rivals 3 minutes back. On the descent, Le Mans set a maniacal pace, adding 2 more minutes to their lead, until finally Hinault asked Le Mans to stay with him, a declaration of "You're too fast." The two would climb up Alpe d'Huez together. Le Mans handing Hinault the win. It was thought, well, in Le Mans' mind, that Hinault had finally thrown in the towel and was going to let Le Mans win like he promised. But later, in an interview, Hinault said, "The race isn't over yet. Stage 20 was an individual time trial at Saint Etienne, a dangerous place as Hinault excelled at the time trials. Le Mans' horrid luck continued in this time trial. A crash and a rubbing brake caused a brutal amount of time to pass. But Hinault crossed the line, only taking 25 seconds out of Le Mans' lead. The shadow of Le Mans' time trial strength still loomed. Stage 21, the final mountain stage of the 86 Tour, and Le Mans rode like a true leader, stuck to the wheel of second place. And he did this all the way to Paris, becoming the first American to win the Tour de France. At the end of '86, Bernard Hinault retired, not before Le Mans joined Hinault at the Coors Classic, a race where in 1981, Hinault would see the talent of Greg LeMond, a new young addition to his team. The two would race as teammates after all of the hell of the tour, the politics, the media. It would be Hinault's final victory, and his number 2 for so many years, would stand on the podium right next to him.